Welcome back to our OSLC Connect for Jira training. I'm Robert Palarjan. Let's work on our next section of our training here. This is about project admin and project configurations. So this is building on after you've created your friend connections between your repositories. So our goal here is to configure project associations and give you some guidance on what to do and what does it mean when we create these relationships. So really, our goal for project configuration is setting the pattern of how your projects work in the enterprise. So which Jira projects are connected to which Doors Next projects, which ETM projects are connected to Jira and EWM. Basically, you can set those patterns through project level configurations. And so we'll take a look at some configurations on the Jira side, what we do with project associations, how we do some of the link version mappings and global configuration mappings for those of you that are using global configurations. And then we'll do the corresponding side on the EWM side and show you how the Jira integration is just the same as all your Doors Next and EWM configurations that you have already, and give you a little hints in terms of how it operates with GC. So a few things to keep in mind when we're doing these project associations. There really are no limits to how you do this. These are one-to-many relationships. So whatever set of Jira projects you want to connect to a Doors Next project, you can, and vice versa. Usually these are bidirectional, but you don't have to create them that way. If you only want to have relationships in one direction, you can. It's all up to you and up to your design. And really, the project admins are the ones that get to shape this. So they set the relationships that users are allowed to create links in, and be able to create the guardrails or the boundaries that people can operate in and what relationships they can make. And then we'll show a little bit about GCs and how they operate when we're doing linking and what configurations we do at the project level for that within Jira. But we'll leave some of the more advanced concepts for later on. So with that, let's go ahead and get with it and show you some things live and work in the tools themselves. This way you can have a visual of what this looks like and how we operate. So we'll start here with just a basic Jira project and Jira task. You'll see your typical behavior doing links. If I want to go ahead and create a collaboration link, you'll see right now I don't have any associations yet. So it's not going to let me create any OSLC links because it doesn't know which projects I can connect to. So in this case, I can go ahead and let's go ahead and open my project configurations. Let's open those just up in a new tab. We can go over and look at that. These are our standard project configurations in Jira. You'll see down the bottom here under OSLC Connect project associations. This is when we utilize those friend relationships we created before. No surprising, we don't have any yet. So let's go ahead and create an association in terms of these projects. We get to pick from these friends we had before. I'm going to start first with EWM because I think it's one of the basic relationships we can create. So we can create, select that friend server. Then we get to pick an association type. So we can either do change request or related change request. You'll see here within our tool, we'll give you some hints in terms of the link relationships we allow with those different project associations. So in this case, we'll see things like related change requests and tracks are the type of links that I can create between Jira issues and artifacts within EWM. In this case, I can then pick which projects I want to create a relationship to. In this case, I'm going to just do it to my training project to give you an example here. And it's just that simple. Once I do that, what I did was I created a project association that says these are the types of links that someone can create. So if I come back over to my Jira task here, I can go ahead and now look at creating a link. When I go to link, should be able to see that I can see a collaboration link now. In this case, I'm going to be able to see a tracks relationship or these several other relationships we saw before. So let's just keep tracks. The container is going to be my project. So in this case, I only have one project associated, but if I had other projects that were change management that allowed the tracks relationship, I'd have more here and I can pick from them. And I can create new or link to an existing. So let's go ahead and create a new item here. and it'll give you a feel. We should see the EWM form be able to pop up here for a task, and so I'll create a sample item here. Go ahead and say OK. What that does is it creates a new artifact in EWM, creates that link, and you'll be able to see here this rich hover that I can see that artifact over in EWM. In fact, I can actually navigate over to that artifact in EWM. And on here, I should be able to see my links and be able to see my rich hover back into DNG. So, or excuse me, into Jira, so I can see that Jira artifact. So now you'll see that on the EWM side, if I go ahead and say add tracks, we're going to want to be able to create a relationship. Now in this case, the only relationship I have right now is to myself, so my own training project within EWM. I want to have another option there, which is actually my connection to Jira. So to be able to do that, we can go ahead and update the project configuration in EWM. So I can open this link in a new tab. This might not be the order that you do it, but I think it makes sense to be able to show what you'll be able to see or not see when you're operating with these different relationships. The project admin for EWM can come in here and create a new relationship if we want to my Jira environment. So if I go here down to add, this is similar to what we did over in Jira. I can select my application, so this is my friend. In this case, I found my Jira server here. I can go ahead and pick related change requests, and in this case, I can go ahead and pick my training project that we just were working with. This is creating that bi-directional relationship back. Go ahead and save that. Save that relationship. Now if I come back over to my EWM item, do a refresh, we should be able to now add a tracks relationship and be able to see that other artifact down there. So let's go ahead and do add tracks. You'll be able to see the training project. That actually happens to be Jira, and we can create a new item if we so desire, and it's going to give me a dialog over here. Don't worry right now about this showing up bug. That's just kind of the default that it has here. We'll do another session how to be able to configure what types show up within EWM. But it gives you, actually, we can change this if we want still. Let's just create a task. Created from EWM. And I can put a description in here. And so now, with that simple project association, I'm now able to create relationships back to my projects within Jira. If I so wanted to, I could actually navigate back over. Let's save this first. EWM wants me to save it, make that relationship permanent. But now I can go ahead and navigate over to that artifact, and you'll see this contributes to relationship, which is the inverse of that tracks relationship for us. So now I can be able to create relationships back and forth, which is actually really valuable for us to be able to do. And it's just that simple to create those relationships. And you'll see how I shaped what information, what relationships I can create by the project configurations I have. Now, the other type of relationship we might want to do is to something like requirements or test cases. So let's go ahead and go back to our project associations in Jira. I can add another association. Let's do this time to my Doors Next application. What we're going to do here is let's do implementation requests. So think of this as being the desire to be able to implement a specific requirement. We can do our training project again. We can add that association. A couple things to keep in mind here. We did actually set this project up for configuration management. So we will have another level in here, but let me show you what you'll see before you fully configure up configuration management. Let's go ahead and create another item in here. In this case, let's do something more like maybe an epic. All right, let's create this new artifact. over to that artifact here. And so when we go ahead and create links now, now that we have association over to requirements management, you'll see when I go to link, collaboration links, you'll be able to see I actually have more link types in here. So let's do implements requirements. What you're going to see here is a warning that we're not fully configured for using GCs yet. And the idea here is when I'm using a GC, I need to point to a specific version. And so I need to do a mapping between what I do in my Jira environment and what I do within my my environment within the IBM world. And we do that with a simple relationship. You'll see that in the project associations here. Is to say that we want to have a relationship on these links to releases, versions. So we'll see kind of two levels of relationships. One is very similar to what happens within EWM, which is basically a link version field mapping. So what this is doing is allowing us to be able to say on a particular link relationship, so in this case like implements requirement, we're going to use the fixed version field as the indicator which version that we should be focusing on. Think of this as being fixed version as like a future version that we're planning, an effects version as a past version, so you'll see a lot of the QM artifacts in terms of when we have issues are related to that. We can configure whether or not we're pointing forward or backwards on those link relationships here. And then the other aspect that we have to work on is when we're looking at a particular release within Jira, which GC do I want to be able to use? So in this case, I might want to be able to relate a release 1 to a specific release within my GC, within the IBM ELM world. So in this case, I'm going to go to my GC application. I'm going to pick my training project. Let's take a look at what streams I have there. Let's just relate training 1 to release 1. And let's go ahead and create a relationship while we're at it here from release 2 to, let's do training 2. I have a training 2 around here as well. So that way I can just point and have those relationships within those tools so I have access to that. And basically what that means is when I'm on a specific artifact, as I do those releases, it's going to point me to a specific GC. So in this case, for me to be able to create a relationship to the implements, I'm going to want to be able to take a look at the specific version, in this case release 1. If I do that, then it's going to know that I actually want to use that training 1 GC. So when I go to use this link relationship now, and I go to say I want to use collaboration link, let's do the implements link again, you'll see that we're going to be using this training 1.0 configuration because that was the mapping that I used. Just to show you how simple that works, if I actually had used a different fixed version, so in this case maybe release 2, when I go ahead and do that relink relationship here and went to do implements, you're going to see I'm going to use training 2 here. So in this case I actually want to link to an existing requirement. I can go ahead and select an artifact. It's going to give me the DNG dialog here, so I can go ahead and pick whichever. Let's just go ahead and pick a module that I want to create a relationship to. So I can just create a relationship to a couple requirements if I want. And just like that, I'm going to have access and I'm going to create links to those requirements and be able to see those artifacts and see how they operate and be able to have that relationship to them. So it's just that simple to be able to do that. If you're ever wondering about that mapping, you'll be able to see how it links to that GC here and be able to take a look at that configuration information you want as well. And so that gives you, I think, a good feel about how to be able to see how those links might take place. We also can go ahead and look at those project associations as well. We probably want to do that relationship the other way as well. So if I actually look at that training projects within ELM, you'll see this kind of the same viewpoint from within DNG. I have the ability now to be able to come in here, add a relationship. In this case, I want to do it to Jira and do the inverse relationship, which is to say I want to use implementation requests and do this in my training project as well. And so this will give me the ability to be able to create those relationships back in Jira, so that now if I go ahead and save this, when I explore this project within DNG now, I can create links back into Doors Next, or from Doors Next into Jira. So let's go ahead and do that real quick, and then we'll do one last look at GCs to give you a little bit more of a feel of what's actually going on behind the scenes there, and how that release within Jira is also seen within the GC environment as well. So in this case, we can take a look at any one of these requirements, and in this case, if we want to, actually let's just navigate to one of these requirements, and we should operate here in a GC. Let's switch this actually over to a GC context for us. Just go over to training 1. If we happen to be navigating from Jira, I can show you that we'd actually navigate over it within that GC. So we can open that link into a new tab if we so wanted. You'll see that you'll actually navigate over into that GC. So, actually let's look at one of these requirements here. I can go ahead and add a new link if I would like to. So I can go ahead and do more, and you'll be able to see if I go to the implementation type, implemented by, I'm going to have a couple options here. I just had the default relationship at EWM here, but you also see that I actually have relationship to Jira, and you'll see how that user interface changes. Now I can choose an existing artifact if I wanted to, so I can look through and be able to search for an artifact, or if I'm looking for training, you'll be able to see I have the quick search that I'd expect from Jira to be able to do that. I also can create a new link if I want to, and this same thing before. I'll show you in another session how to be able to configure what type this is, but let's actually just go back and let's do to our existing training element, training 3. I can go ahead and create a link to that artifact within this 2.0 GC. Select that. I'm going to create a link. You'll be able to see that link live, and you'll be able to see I have links over here within here. If I take a look at my artifact over in Jira, do a refresh here, I should be able to see the third link there, so you can see all those things live. So that should give you a feel of project associations, be able to see a little bit of GC and how that operates. The one other thing I will point out as we look at those GCs, let's go back to our project associations here, is they are reflected within the global configuration management environment as well. So if I go over to training 2.0 within my GC application, you're going to see where we make a reference to that release. So within links 1 here, you'll be able to see that we actually have a reference to this this release 2.0. So those relationships to the GC can be bidirectional. It's a way for you to be able to identify within ELM which releases of Jira elements you want to show within your reviews. You can add additional artifacts in here, different releases within a particular GC release. But we'll go over that in our GC session later on. So hopefully that's a help in doing some of the project associations. If you have any questions, reach out to our team. Happy to answer any questions you might have and help you get started. Thank you very much.